Let's talk a little bit about Windows 10 hardware requirements, and we'll also look at beyond Windows 10, where we're going in the future with that, and then we're going to look at the compatibility checker. Now, the Windows 10 hardware requirements that you see here are all pretty much the same as they have been since Windows 7. So if your computer will run Windows 7 or Windows 8, it should be fine with Windows 10. Single 1 gigahertz processor, 1 gigabyte of RAM if you're loading the 32-bit version, or 2 gigabytes if you're loading the 64-bit version. Free disk space, 32 gigabytes, unless you are installing pre-version 1903, and then you're fine with 16 gigabytes. And then the typical graphics card with DirectX, WDDM. Now, as we think about the future, Windows 11 and so on, there are going to be several changes. So this is the last version right now that will handle these particular specs. So as we go on into Windows 11, we're going to see, first of all, that 32-bit will be dropped altogether. We're going to have only 64-bit systems. These numbers for the processor, the RAM, and the disk space are going to go up. And then in addition, we'll need the TPM 2.0 or higher chip, which is a hardware chip built on our motherboard. We'll also need the UEFI type of setup. In the past, we used something called BIOS. Now we have UEFI, and in UEFI must be built and turned on Secure Boot. Now, one thing I should mention is that both Windows 10 and Windows 11 and so on require a communication, a internet connection to Microsoft for activation purposes. So they must register that copy of Windows on their servers. And so you need to be able to contact them in order to activate your product. Now, this thing called the compatibility checker is pretty cool. In the past, you had to have a separate program that you would run as a compatibility checker to check whether it was ready for the next installation. However, with Windows 10, that compatibility checker is built right into the installer. So if it detects a problem or something that it can't install on during the installation process, it will seamlessly roll back your machine to the place it started. So in other words, you won't lose your data and software and operating system or settings. You won't lose any of that if something goes wrong during the installation. That's always a big fear with people, that if I get things partially installed and then I have a problem, my computer will become a brick. Well, that's not the case with Windows 10.